Hello, good evening. This is Business on Joy News Prime with me, Beverly Broom. Straight into our stories. And ECO, the single currency proposed by West African countries to be used in the regional bloc, will be issued in 2027. This was revealed by the Director of Research at the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Philip Abradu-Otu. The eco-currency was originally expected to be issued in 2020, but was postponed to 2027 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking at the West African Monetary Agency Technical Committee meeting, Dr. Abradu-Otu urged representatives of the central banks of various countries to ensure that they meet all the requirements by December 2026. This will enable the full adoption of the common currency to compete on the international market.
ECO is the name for the proposed common currency of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Plans were underway to ensure its introduction in 2020. However, due to some challenges like the COVID-19 pandemic, the common currency was not issued in the West African region. West African Central Bank governors and finance ministers in the region have converged in Accra to try and finalize work on the introduction of the single currency. Here is Director of Research at the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Philip Abradu-Otu.
In June 2021, here in Accra, the authority of ECOWAS heads of states and government adopted a new roadmap for the launch of the ECO and a new macroeconomic convergence and stability pact. This followed after the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted the planned launch of the ECO in 2022. With the new roadmap, majority of member states must meet all the primary convergence criteria on a sustainable basis by 31st December 2026. This implies that the period 2024 to 2026 is critical if we should make any meaningful progress with the new roadmap.
Meanwhile, for the common currency to be implemented, 10 convergence criteria set out by the West African Monetary Institute must be met. Director General of the West African Monetary Agency, Mumudu Bambastaho, explained that no member country had met all the criteria as of 2022, hence the extension of the deadline.
In 2022, only 2 member states, Guinea and Liberia, met the budget deficit criterion. However, performance on the average annual inflation criterion sharply declined, with only Benin and Niger meeting that target. The central bank financing criterion also saw a deterioration in 2022, with 4 member states missing the target, emphasizing the need for policy reforms. Lastly, while performance on the gross external reserve criterion weakened slightly in 2022, 14 member states still complied, showcasing the region's resilience in that regard. At the end of December 2022, no member state met all 4 primary convergence criteria. 4 member states, Benin, Niger, Guinea, and Liberia, complied with at least 3 primary convergence criteria.
Proponents of the ECO say the single currency will facilitate trade, lower transaction costs, and facilitate payments amongst ECOWAS's 385 million people.
Meanwhile, economist Professor Peter Quartey cautions ECOWAS to tread cautiously. According to him, the current happenings in Africa do not properly position the continent to commence the use of the ECO.
I think we should tread cautiously with this ECO. In as much as it will lead to trade, it will lead to reduction in cost of transacting across the continent or the sub-region. I think we are far from reaching that target and therefore ought to be cautious. We heard from the meeting that not many have been able to even meet the primary convergence criteria. And in fact, since this discussion started, no single country, to the best of my knowledge, has been able to meet the primary convergence criteria consistently for 3 years. So it's something that, yes, it is good, but let's tread cautiously. So given the current state, unless things improve significantly, unless our institutions, what we call the soft factors, if they are improved, if our institutions, the nature of our institutions improve, the financial institutions, the legislative institutions improve significantly, then we can say, yes, we can, despite the fact that we haven't met all the criteria, we can roll it out. But currently, as we stand, given the weak macro conditions across the sub-region, given the weak institutions, I think we ought to reform the institutions and ensure strong macroeconomy before we roll this out.
Now, economist Professor Peter Quartey has also described calls by cocoa farmers for a 72% hike in farm gate prices of cocoa beans as unrealistic. Cocoa farmers are calling for a 72.5% upward adjustment of the farm gate price of cocoa beans from 800 cedis to 1,380 cedis per bag for the next cocoa season. According to him, a 30 to 40% range is more achievable.
I don't think that is achievable. Perhaps they should look at something within 30 to 40%. I mean, if you adjust for inflation, I don't think 70% or above is something that will be sustainable. But again, it all boils down to looking at the numbers. I believe government will have to look at the price per ton on the international market. I think currently it's hovering between $2,500 to $3,000 per ton. You should look at that and also look at the cost of operations and ensure that at least the margins are not too huge, but will pay a price that will make farmers happy. Government would have to factor the rate of inflation in announcing the cocoa prices, but government cannot give what it hasn't got or doesn't have.
Now, tomorrow, Ghana Cocoa Board is expected to announce a new farm gate price for the next cocoa crop season. Moving on. Now, government finally issued certificates for all investors who participated in the last round of the domestic debt exchange program. This will pave way for government to pay all those who participated in the domestic dollar bond, cocoa bills, and the alternative pension funds exchange programs. This was contained in a statement issued by the Finance Ministry. We take a look at the statement now, and the government of Ghana announces the successful settlement and conclusion on Monday, 4th September 2023 of its domestic debt exchange program in respect of the government's US dollar-denominated bonds. The successful result is a significant achievement for the government as it pursues its macroeconomic stabilization policies under the IMF-supported post-COVID-19 program for economic growth. Now, the settlement was made pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth in the exchange memorandum dated 14th July 2023. Capitalized terms used but not defined herein shall have the meanings ascribed thereto in the exchange memorandum. It goes ahead to say that the government announces the aggregate principal amount of each series of new bonds, which amounts together with the corresponding ISINs are set forth in Appendix A attached here too. We move straight to the fourth point now, and pursuant to the exchange memorandum, all tenders accepted by the government resulted in electronic cancellation of such eligible bonds at the CSD on the settlement date. It goes ahead again to say that on the settlement date, the government signed and issued the pricing supplements for each new bond pursuant to the deed of covenant of the Republic of Ghana dated 21st February 2023, under which the new bonds were constituted and issued. Now, copies of the new bond documentations have been made available on the dedicated website of the Ministry of Finance, and it was issued by the Public Relations Unit of the Ministry of Finance. Now moving on, the Ghana Revenue Authority has apprehended about 15 owners of retail outlets and beauty shops in the Ga East District of the Greater Accra region. The centers, all located in Hacho, a suburb of Accra, are operating without a value-added tax certificate. Some of the managers have been asked to report to the Criminal Investigations Department for questioning. According to the leader of the enforcement team, Assistant Commissioner Joseph Annan, the exercise is taking a different approach.
According to the leader of the enforcement team, Assistant Commissioner Joseph Annan, the exercise is taking a different approach as the shop operators and some stakeholders have reached out to the GRA to review the approach. He believes this will eliminate the accusations of selective justice against the team.
As we go along with our work, we revise our strategies. What is happening is that in the past, like you rightly said, we do our test cases, which we still do. And then that takes us to wherever we go to. But realize that you go there and then you look at the environs and you see that there are many more, taxpayers who are qualified to charge the VAT. So then we need to also look at them, because many times some of these people we visit, they feel they've been targeted. Because you come to a place, many of them are doing similar, business, and then some may even be bigger, but then you pick one or two. And the signal it sends is that probably they have been targeted, which is not what actually happens. So this time when we come to an area, we look around, those that are qualified to charge the VAT, we come and then we deal with them. Yes.
Some of the offenders have been collecting VAT from customers but refuse to pay to the GRA. This, according to Mr. Annan, is a serious offence of the law and will be dealt with as a special case.
They are not registered. We went to Fasty Bodies and Hair. They are registered, but then they don't have the dispensation to issue their own invoice, but they are doing so. Then we came to Wimbo Leo Enterprise. They also don't have the dispensation. They are a supermarket. Then Meditap Health Shop. They are into food supplements, which are vatable items, but they are not registered to charge VAT. Then we came to Everything Home. They are not registered, but they are charging the VAT, which is a serious crime. And I'm sure when we get to the office, the needed punishment will be exerted on them. Then we came to Calabar SAS Pub. They are also not registered, but they are charging VAT. We will also deal with them as the law requires.
The exercise is part of the strategy by the authority to increase revenue for the state.
Now, the Ghana Exports Promotion Authority says it is working to improve its performance for its non-traditional export revenue for 2023. The authority recorded $3.5 billion in non-traditional export revenues in 2022. Manufactured and semi-manufactured products sector contributed the most. Chief Executive Officer of GEPA, Dr. Efua Asabia Asare, said the authority will deploy innovative means to add value to its product to increase export earnings. She was speaking at the GEPA 80th National Exporters Forum in partnership with Access Bank PLC. The following report has more.
The Ghana Export Promotion Authority said it is dedicated to providing comprehensive support, particularly in the area of value-added goods. Dr. Efua Asabia Asare said her outfit will bolster human capacity through the GEPA Export School in Accra.
GEPA has collaborated with key stakeholders such as the Ghana Standard Authority, the Food and Drugs Authority, Ghana Exim Bank, Association of Ghana Industries, the Plant Protection and Regulatory Services Department of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, as well as research institutions, private sector entities, government organizations, and foreign missions. In 2022, Ghana recorded non-traditional export revenues of $3.5 billion USD, with the manufactured and semi-manufactured products sector contributing the most. This result highlights GEPE's dedication to enhancing exporters' capacities, fostering global competitiveness, exchange flows, and foreign exchange flows to bolster the local economy.
Trade Minister Katie Hammond pledged supporting exporters in Ghana.
Let us see ourselves working together as partners in the growth and development of the economy of the country. You cannot be unaware of trade and the transformative impact it can have on economies, especially those in emerging markets.
Executive Director Wholesale Banking at Access Bank Ghana PLC, James Bruce, explained various initiatives Access Bank is embarking on to support exporters.
Facilitating payments, also checking on your counterparties that you are looking to export to be sure that they have the capacity to pay for the goods and services you are getting. Obviously, we would finance that side of the trade as well and see how best we can finance this side of the trade. Now, why do we want to do this? We've started a journey with SME capacity building, together with UNIDO, together with GIZ, to give skills to prepare the SMEs to be ready to be able to move to the next level.
The forum was under the theme, Growing Ghana's Export Capacity, Catalyst for Economic Growth.
Let's go to the Ashanti region now, where Odotobri Rural Bank in the region is enhancing operations in its catchment to improve banking in the target market. Aside from increasing the bank's branches, new products are being rolled out to achieve set targets. Board Chairman Dr. Kweku Mensah Bonsu explains the bank's objective is in line with the government's financial inclusion agenda. Nanaya Ojima was at the commissioning of the 14th branch of the bank in the Ashanti region.
Financial inclusion contributes to economic growth by stimulating entrepreneurship and increasing savings. Despite enhanced financial education, the majority of Ghana's population remains unbanked, largely due to inaccessibility. This has limited financing for most small and medium-scale enterprises in the country. Board Chairman for Odotobri Rural Bank, Dr. Kweku Mensah Bonsu, says roping more people into banking will drive development.
In Kumasi, we have about 9 branches, and that is strategically placed so that people from different areas, you don't need to go very far to get to Odotobri Rural Bank. Yes, with the way things are going and business is picking up gradually, there's a possibility that we would open new branches, depending on how we see the areas that we want to go into. There are areas that have potential. So we are going to explore all these things and find out where we should put our money.
The bank commissioned its 14th branch at Tutuka in Obuasi municipality. In 2022, the Odotobri Rural Bank increased profit margin from 4.1 million cedis to 4.6 million cedis, mainly driven by business at the only branch at Obuasi. Abraham Kofi is Chief Executive Officer.
Management and the board thought it wise that as the customer base of the bank keeps on increasing, it was imperative for us to make such an expansion. So we started doing feasibility studies, ensuring due processes, and also obtaining Bank of Ghana's approval. So today what we are all witnessing, that is the commissioning of Tutuka branch, is an attempt to expand the bank's operational coverage and also to support the government of Ghana financial inclusion agenda.
For Joy Business, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, Kwesi Ajiman Buzia, says the office is reaping from its sustained operational cleanup of revenue leakages and efficiency in operations. He says the authority is currently leveraging digitalization to increase efficiency and revenue. He was speaking at a sword-cutting ceremony for the construction of a new office complex at Dunkwao Onofe as part of the DVLA's transformation agenda.
In the last 6 years, the perceived most corrupt public institution has become best in administration and reforms, winning over 65 national awards in that period. In the last 6 years, under the guidance and leadership of one of your very own from Dingsha, Dominase, the Minister for Transport, Honorable Kweku Ofori-Asiamah, under his leadership, DVLA management has morphed from what was described as mediocre service institution to be the best state enterprise in customer service provision in 2021.
The office construction is scheduled for completion and commissioning in a year's time. Deputy Minister of Transport Alhassan Tampuli is excited at the new project.
Even more importantly is the fact that you are not just going to get an office, but you are going to receive one of the best experiences in the world as far as the services of DVLA is concerned. Communities or constituencies around this area, I believe not less than 20 municipalities and district assemblies would have to be relying on you. But what is going to attract them more is the quality of service that you'll be giving. So I don't need to go to Cape Coast, I don't need to go to Kumasi if I know that when I come here, I'm going to get the best of service delivery.
Motorists in the area are hopeful the new facility will ease access to services at the DVLA. Nuruddin Idris is local chairman of the GPRTU.
In fact, we were having it very difficult when you get a car to go and license. You have to travel sometimes I had to Obuasi or Kumasi or Cape Coast before you could register a vehicle. So it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, my brother. So this office is going to help us a lot. Most of us here, and then the neighboring district, and then constituencies close to us here.
For Joy News, Mona Lisa Frimpong reporting.
And that's all for business tonight. But you can read more business stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. I am Beverly Broom. Thanks so much for your time. I leave you with news making headlines on the international front.